Now I want to give you some examples of units in action, but I'm going to make it easy because I'm going to concentrate on the relative units. The reason is that absolute units like millimeters, centimeters, inches, points and picas, they're not really that useful to us, because if we decide something should be so many millimeters high, then how is that going to display on a desktop compared to a mobile phone? What we really want to do is we want to design web pages that are relative to the size of the screen that they're being viewed on. So in that case, we should be concentrating on relative units like percentage, EX, EM, and PX. So let's have a look at some examples of using relative units to control size with CSS. And we'll start this off by adding a paragraph of text to our document. And I'm going to just use this tool up here to generate some. And then we've got a paragraph here. Let me just get rid of that semicolon. It's found its way in. Okay, so now we have a paragraph of text, and this paragraph is defined by this paragraph tag. So if we want to format it, we can use the paragraph selector and say, we want all paragraphs on a web page to be like this, and then we can define declarations. Now, what I'm going to define here is font size. And if I start typing it, LiveWeave helps me there with font size, so I don't even have to spell it correctly or remember whether there's a hyphen or not. I can just select it from the list. And let's say we want a font size of 12 pixels. And you see over on this side, the font has been resized. And that font is 12 pixels on my computer screen. We can change that. We can make it 18 pixels. And it gets much bigger. Change to 30, and you can see it increases again. So this is the pixel size. Now, a relative measurement that we probably will use a lot less is the EX. And in fact, I don't think I use it at all. I stick with pixels, or more likely the EM measurement. But let's have a look. If you remember, the EX is the height of the current font's lowercase letter x. So let's say we want the font to be 1 EX. And now the font size is being reduced down to the size of the current font's letter X. Let me just comment that bit out for you so you can just see. Okay, this is the text. Let me put in some lowercase letter x's so you can see them. When I say I want the font to be 1EX, basically the font will be the size of this lowercase x. So let's just remove the comment and you can see it change. In fact, it looks an awful lot smaller, but that's the way the EX works. If we say 2EX, then the font should be twice the size of the lowercase EX and 3 times the lowercase EX. Now, I don't remember the last time I saw EX being used for font sizes. What is more common is EM, and if we put 1EM in there, what we should find is that if we were to comment it out, the font size over on the right hand side isn't going to change. So let's have a look. Okay, it's commented out, font size hasn't changed because 1EM, remember, EM is the size relative to the font's height. So 1EM means it's 1 times the font size. What we can do, let's change that to 1.5, and you should see that the font size increases 1.5 times. And there it gets bigger. You can reduce that down to 1.1, 1.2, or you could even have it 2EM. And you can see the font has now doubled in size. So of those that we've looked at, PX pixels and EM are the 2 most common for defining font size. The one relative unit we haven't looked at yet is percentage, and we will use this a lot more in examples later on in the course, but I can show you a very quick example of this. There's a line height declaration where I can say I want the line height to be, let's say 150%. And what you'll notice there is that the lines of text now are more spaced out. And what line height does is it takes the default line height, which in other words is, let me just delete this, it's the height from the top to the bottom of the line of text. So this height here that you can see highlighted, and I'm saying I want to make it 150 times that. In other words, 1.5 times greater. So now the line height has been increased, and the effect of it is to spread out the text lines within a paragraph. Let's change that to 200% and you'll see that lines spread out even more. If you want to make the lines even closer together than without the line height, let's say we've got, this is the default line height here, we can put line height and actually put a percentage below 100%, and that will squish the lines up closer together. So this is an example of percentage where it's taking the default line height and it's applying that percentage. So that's a brief introduction to the units that you'll get with lengths in CSS, and we will look at these over and over again as we continue on with the course.